Everything looked normal in that living room. It wasn't, and the dog had known for 3 days. The toddler hit the floor at 9:47 in the morning. Not a fall, a sit-down, the boneless drop of a 2-year-old who has decided the carpet is the right place to be right now. Juniper was 22 months old, red shirt, bare feet, brown eyes, and she was crying before she finished landing. Not a new sound in the Hartley household. Juniper cried the way some children have weather. Suddenly, completely without obvious cause, her parents, Reed and Simone, had stopped asking why within the first 6 months. What they had not stopped noticing was the dog. Biscuit was a 5-year-old golden retriever, 71 pounds, the kind of dog who smelled like warm bread and shed on everything and had never in his life done anything that could be described as alarming. He was the background warmth of the house. He was a fixture. He was the dog. Until the Tuesday Juniper started her 3rd crying episode of the morning and Biscuit stopped being the background. He had been asleep on his bed across the room. He came off it before the cry peaked. Not startled, purposeful, moving at a pace that was faster than walking and quieter than running. He crossed the living room and lowered his head to Juniper's level. His nose went to her ear, then her cheek. Then, slowly, to her mouth. He inhaled for 4 full seconds, pulled back, looked toward the kitchen where Simone was standing with a coffee cup frozen halfway to her mouth. Then he looked back at the baby and pressed his nose to her mouth again. Simone set down the coffee. "Biscuit, stop!" He didn't stop. Juniper cried harder. Biscuit stayed exactly where he was, muzzle inches from the toddler's face. And the thing that made Simone's stomach drop was not that the dog was close to Juniper. It was the way he was close, focused, methodical, like he was doing something that required precision. She pulled him back by the collar. He went without resistance and returned in under 10 seconds. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Reed came downstairs at 10 and found Biscuit circling Juniper's play area like something in an orbit he could not escape. Every time Juniper cried, and she was crying more than usual, though neither of them had thought to mark that yet, Biscuit arrived. Same behavior. Nose to the ear, cheek, mouth, inhaling. Watching Simone afterward like he was waiting for her to respond to information he had already delivered. "She's not going to keep letting him do this," Reed said that evening. He had watched it happen twice more. He had seen Simone pull Biscuit away and Biscuit return as if the pull had not happened. Simone was a kindergarten teacher. She had 11 years of reading children, reading rooms, reading the temperature of a space before anyone said a word. She knew when something was off. She had been telling herself for 2 days that Biscuit was just reacting to Juniper's distress the way dogs sometimes did, amplifying it, getting too close, needing to be redirected. She had been wrong about what she was reading. That night she put a camera in the living room, not because she planned to catch the dog doing something dangerous, because she needed to see the pattern from outside it. The footage showed 4 separate approaches between 6 and 10 in the evening. Each time Juniper was crying, each time Biscuit arrived, deployed that specific nose-to-face contact, inhaled, and looked toward whatever adult was nearest. Each time the adult redirected the dog. Each time Biscuit came back. At 2 in the morning, Juniper woke with a cry that was different, flatter, less sharp. The sound of something winding down rather than ramping up. Simone was in the doorway before she was fully awake. Biscuit was already there. She didn't know when he'd gotten in. The door had been open. lying on the floor of the nursery, his head raised, watching the crib with the specific stillness of an animal that has decided it is not leaving. She turned on the light. Juniper's face was wrong, not the grey of serious illness, just wrong in a way she felt before she analysed. The lips were pale, the eyes were open and too flat. She picked her up. The weight was wrong, just fractionally, just enough. Reed drove. Simone sat in the back holding Juniper and running through every measure of toddler consciousness she knew and coming up short on each one. At the hospital, Dr. Amara Nkosi, pediatric emergency, assessed Juniper within minutes. Called for a glucose test. The number that came back was 39. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense? Until it was the only thing that made sense. Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The diagnosis took 3 more days to finalize. Juniper had a rare form of glycogen storage disorder. Her liver could not adequately release glucose during fasting periods. The increased crying over the preceding week had been hypoglycemic distress. The symptoms were non-specific. They looked exactly like a toddler having a hard morning. Dr. Nkosi told them that the dog's behavior, the specific pattern of approaching during crying episodes, pressing his nose to her face, inhaling, then looking toward the adult, was consistent with documented spontaneous diabetic alert behavior in dogs without formal training. That Biscuit had been attempting to communicate the change in Juniper's breath chemistry for 3 days before the crisis. That the compound produced by dropping blood glucose in a small child is detectable to a dog at concentrations that no instrument in that living room could have registered. She looked at them both. I'm glad you came in when you did. 12 minutes more at that level, and we would be talking about something else right now. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Biscuit was on the couch when they came home from the hospital. He lifted his head when the front door opened and watched them come in with the specific patience of someone who has been waiting a very exact amount of time. Simone set Juniper down on the carpet. Biscuit climbed off the couch, crossed the room, and lowered his face to hers. He inhaled once. His ears came forward. He exhaled and lay down on the carpet beside her, the full length of his body between Juniper and the rest of the room. He looked at Simone. She looked back. She had spent 3 days pulling him away from the answer. He had kept coming back anyway. The next story is about a dog who refused to let a grandmother leave the house on a specific morning, and the TIA that would have happened 3 blocks from home.